Welcome to the Women Empowerment Podcast, where we firmly believe we rise by lifting others. The Women Empowerment Podcast is a platform for women to share their personal stories and experiences, trials and triumphs, to have their voices heard, to promote, inspire, and motivate other women. We want to share the journey of women leaders and entrepreneurs from all industries and sectors who've made an outstanding impact in our society, all while empowering others to do the same. The Women Empowerment Awards Gala is being held on September 13th, 2024. Enjoy an evening with over 250 highly influential, inspiring individuals. Visit our website, www.woea.ca, for more information. Let's celebrate women empowerment together. Enjoy the podcast. Welcome to the Woman Empowerment Podcast. I'm so excited today to have my very first guest, Danielle Skipp of Nicola Wealth, the managing director. So please, Danielle, go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience and let everybody know all of the great things that you have going on.
Wow, all the great things I've got going on. Number one, chatting with you today, Ellie. So it's a pleasure to meet you. Hello, everyone. My name is Danielle Skipp, as Ellie just mentioned. I live in Toronto. I'm married. I have 3 girls between the ages of 17 and 22. We're a busy family. I grew up in Vancouver, but I moved to Toronto to pursue a career. And I think we're probably going to do a little bit of discussion around that when I was 27, about half a lifetime ago for me.
Wow, that's amazing. So talk to us a bit about your journey to managing director.
Well, your word journey is a good one. It's definitely been both a career and a life journey to where I find myself today in this role. I started as a keen student. I've always been an academic. I've loved school. I was a good student. Didn't know exactly what I wanted to do after an undergraduate degree, but started to narrow it down to law or business. Actually looked into that combined sort of law MBA program that was beginning to be offered by some of our Canadian universities. But actually interesting, and I think this will come up a lot in our discussion, community is super important to me. And as I sort of learned about these programs, what I heard is that you don't actually graduate with any one class because you are doing 2 programs. You're doing both the law program and the MBA class. So you don't actually have one graduating class that you gel with because you extend your program. And I immediately went, oh my goodness, that is definitely not for me. I want to be with a graduating class, my pals that are going to no doubt be my pals for a lifetime. And so I narrowed it down and I ended up at law school. And I practiced, I practiced as a lawyer in Vancouver and did really enjoy it. I did very much like the practice that I was in. I was actually in litigation. I was in court. I was working on trials. I was seeing some amazing senior lawyers in their craft. Ultimately, it was not enough adventure for me. I knew that I needed to go somewhere else. And I did have this concept of a business and entrepreneurship that was there. I couldn't really put my finger on what that was, but I knew there was something else. And so I looked for opportunity. I was going to actually at that point maybe go and do my MBA. But when I started to dive into what that would cost to do it in the US or to do it internationally, I was like, maybe not. Maybe I will just look for a new job in a new field and move to Toronto. And that is sort of how my career took its first big pivot. And yeah, I was 27 and I ended up in Toronto working in banking. And yeah, I did that for a while using my law, definitely using my law. It was very, that was my hook to find a new job. I was a practicing lawyer. I actually had to get called to the bar in Ontario, which meant you have to write all those exams again. But I was still very interested in using that legal background in my career, but I eventually went in-house with one of our big banks. And then that experience led to another experience and another pivot and ended up in my own business. in wealth advisory, asset management with my husband. We did that for 5 years. So that was true entrepreneurship at its best. Leveraged that to another opportunity, a small company still, not five, which is where my husband and I grew our company to, but 15 people or so, and was there for 5 years. And then this what I would say sort of big opportunity at Nicola Wealth unfolded. And it's both a career and a life adventure for me. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Career, it's just an intersection of bringing so many things together for me. It allowed me early on to again use my legal background. I've now sort of moved beyond that into leadership with a company that's 550 people, big now. It's entrepreneurial still. We're all shareholder employees at Nicola Wealth. It's a growth company where growth mindset and creativity come in. And then my other little bit about life is that I'm working with my brother.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that he's Vancouver based. My brother David Sung has been at Nicola Wealth for 20 years. Our company is experiencing its 30-year anniversary. My father, who is now passed, I had lost my dad in 2020, but my father and my brother joined Nicola Wealth together from a company they had. So yeah, this is a life journey for me as well. Family very much is part of this experience.
That's fabulous. So, taking it back a bit, why did you end up choosing Toronto to make that pivot to?
Toronto. So there was a couple things going on in my life. I had some friends here. I
Mm,
had one particular gentleman in my life who was a friend who eventually became a husband.
awesome.
Who was also experiencing an opportunity in his career and had come out to Toronto 6 months before I did. Toronto, if I was going to expand into business, which is what I wanted to do, was the land of head offices and opportunity, especially if banking was an area that I was looking into. And my parents had a few contacts to set me up as I went in search of finding a job.
So, growing up, like as a young lady, what were some of your dreams and aspirations?
Yeah, what like I mean that is taking me back. I was definitely always someone that saw a career in my future, but I also saw, even at a very young age, I saw a full life. I've been someone who's been motivated by life experience. A lot of adventure in my own family growing up. I lived in Africa for a couple of years. My parents were young parents, but they too had a sense of adventure and took their young family. My brother and I were maybe 7 and 5. My sister had not been born yet, and they moved themselves off to Africa for 2 years to work.
Wow.
I wanted a full life. I wanted sports, friends, enjoyment, travel. Maybe I was wise enough at that young age to know a career was required to to achieve all of that. But I've been driven by wanting balance, by wanting all of that.
Hmm. And so obviously, you mentioned your father and your brother were in business at Nicola Wealth. How did you, like, who inspired you, I guess, as a young person?
My mom was not a working mother until I was about grade 8 or so. And then she decided that she needed something more in her life. And she had been a fantastic full time mom. She had taken us to Africa. She had then brought us back to Vancouver. And with my father, had given us this, great youth that involved no boundaries. We did sports that we wanted. We had friends. We did well in school. But she decided she wanted a career, and I watched her, at that young age of 13, figure out how she was going to get back into business and work really hard. And she navigated an industry that was very male dominated, and she was definitely an inspiration for sure. Um, Other people that I remember being, impactful in my life would be my father for sure. I had an aunt who was only 10 years older than I was, and I watched her take off from Vancouver and go and explore in Los Angeles. And, I just, everyone that came into my life, I found something to find inspiration in.
For sure. There are always hurdles on the road to success. Share some of those hurdles that you may have experienced and how you've leaped over them to get where you are today.
Yes, hurdles. We all have hurdles. I'm going to think of one particular story that I've not shared in a long time about a hurdle. So when I was an articled student at my law firm in Vancouver, I had graduated top of my class. So I had extremely good marks, which sort of then sets you up for articling in that you choose where you want to go. You're shortlisting your top choices, and the firms are top listing. It's this matching program that existed. And so I ended up at the firm of my choice.
Mm,
And off you go for your year of articling, which is really like an apprentice year.
okay.
And my my personal goal was to, explore the different areas of the firm, corporate law, estate law, litigation, this. I wanted like the full sort of view and tour, if you call it, so I could help inform my own decision where I wanted to go. And I remember I got stuck on a massive litigation case, and it was a construction file. It was like some sort of real estate development gone bad, and they were fighting.
Mhm,
And there was a senior partner, a male senior partner, who had sort of, I think the words we were using, he had chewed up a lot of articled students, right? It was like, it was tough work working under him, and it was grunt work. It was documents and documents that needed sorting. Anyway, I did my time, I was doing my work, but I did a very good job. And the better job I did, the more he was reluctant to release me and let me go on this tour that I wanted to go on and work for other people. And I
mhm,
remember struggling with that and not having sort of the bravery to confront him. He was a bit frightening. He was a male senior partner. And so I found my way to the woman in the firm who was sort of in charge of the articling students.
mm,
And she empowered me to find that voice. She said, I can try to help you solve this problem. And, to her, I was like, listen, I had my choice of where I wanted to go, and I chose you. But I chose you to get a well rounded experience. And he is like taking up all my time. And she said, yeah, I could solve your problem for you, but it's going to be far more impactful, Danielle, if you find the way to use your voice and explain to him
mhm,
why you are struggling with this decision. That was a hurdle, and it was a great lesson, because I'll tell you, the outcome of me finding my voice and
yeah,
explaining to him was incredible. And fast forwarding, what happened was he begged me to stay on for a tiny bit more and help him
mm,
get through this one phase of the work. And he said to me, but trust me, I will pay this back to you. And I didn't know what that meant. I'm like,
mm,
is this a cash bonus at the end of the year? Is this? I didn't know what it was. But I decided that in that moment, I felt him being extremely authentic, and
mm,
that something good was going to come of this.
great.
And what happened was, about 3 years later, this ridiculous construction case was still going on. I had been released. I wasn't still working for him. I had moved to another area of the firm. But he came and found me as like a third year associate. And he said, this case is going to the Court of Appeal, Danielle. And I would like for you to work on this one particular issue. And I will let you robe, and I will let you speak to this issue at the Court of Appeal. And I was a third year associate. It was unheard of. I just thought of that story when you asked about hurdles. And I do think it's a good one, about finding your voice.
Yeah. Talk to us a bit more about why finding your voice is so important, especially as a woman.
Well, you can be unseen and unheard if you don't find that voice. I do believe that you sort of put yourself, you put a stake in the ground when you've got the ability to speak what needs to be said and to find a respectful and impactful way of saying it. And that will depend on the audience, right? It will depend on what needs to be said and it will depend on who you're saying it to. But finding your voice, I think, is, you know, very important. I certainly speak to my own girls about finding their voice, about, you know, if you're coming home and you're, you know, griping or complaining about something a teacher is doing, I can help you solve that problem. But it's more impactful if you find a way to solve it yourself.
Right.
Um, at the same time, I do really believe in what people I think sometimes call allyship,
Mhm.
right? And lining up other allies, other champions to maybe add some extra oomph to your own voice. But both are very important.
Very important. And then, of course, while we're on the topic of empowerment, show us or share with us some keys to success that you found along the way.
You know, sometimes success you don't see it coming, and maybe back up. I mean, how we each define success is so different.
Right.
And, you know, maybe the most important message that I would share with someone is really being thoughtful about what success does mean for you. And, you know, I didn't have the words when I was young about what I was thinking. You know, now oh my goodness, now I love books on leadership and I love lectures that I go to about personal growth and finding your core values. Like I'm eating this up right now. That is that phase of my life that I'm in. Maybe that's what the 50s is all about. But it's actually giving words to things that I do think I felt when I was younger, which is what is important to you,
Right.
right? So defining what success means for yourself then helps you achieve that. A balanced and full life with career and family and friends and adventure, that's success to me. So then I can make intentional decisions around what is going to open up those things for me.
Yeah. I love how you incorporate adventure into what your answers, because adventure is so important in this journey called life. We're working, we have our careers, we have our family, but adventure ties into both.
Absolutely. And what I love about the word adventure or the experience of adventure is sometimes it's big, right? Sometimes it's a big giant adventure. Like I've saved up money and I'm going backpacking in Europe, or I'm going on a girls' trip, or I'm doing this. And then sometimes adventure is literally taking the subway that day, right? And
Right.
navigating the subway, but also just then opening up your eyes to who else is taking the subway that day and what am I seeing as I take the subway today? And, adventures are big and small,
That's right. It's all about that perspective for sure.
right?
So talk to us about women empowerment. What does that mean to you?
The word empowerment, and, certainly we can tie it to women empowerment, and that is something I'm very passionate about. But the word empowerment can be tied to youth empowerment or, disenfranchised communities empowerment, whatever it is. So just starting with that word empowerment, I really think about knowledge. I think about knowledge and opportunity. So, women empowerment for me is yes, I'm a woman. I have friends that are women. I have daughters that are women. I have colleagues. And I do believe we have so much to bring to the world and that we are not at all the decision making tables. And so the world will be a better place with more women engaged. So, women empowerment is bringing more knowledge to women, allowing women the opportunity to learn more. It's not that we can't learn,
Mhm.
it's that we need the opportunity in the spaces. And then it's the connections and just getting more women. into all decision making spaces in the world will lead to better outcomes. And I'm very passionate about that.
Yes, I agree 100% with that for sure. You definitely play a significant role in leading women, especially in business. So, talk to us a bit about what that means to you to be supporting other women and why it's so important.
Quite something to be asked to give a podcast interview. It's quite something to hear someone say that I'm playing an important role in women in business, because it's really just been organic and it's been what I've wanted to do at every stage. And I guess as maturity has unfolded for me and influence has become something that I can bring influence to, all of a sudden this concept of me being in a leadership role for women has just arrived. But that word leadership, to me at least, is it's more of a peer term than it is as a oh, you've got 50 people reporting to you, and you've got this fancy job that allows you to go out and to me that's not it. To me it's more, again, I've found words through maturity to be able to describe things that I've always been excited about, which is connecting with people, encouraging people to do things that make them happy and fulfilled. And then if I'm able to play a role in that because I can make a introduction or I can share some knowledge that I have and that empowers someone, like that's joy and fulfillment for me. So yeah, leadership to me is a real peer-to-peer term. And I've had the benefit of both men and women doing that for me as my career in life has been unfolding. So if I can do that for someone else, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and you mentioned, it being natural and authentic to you, and that's the beauty of a leader, and that's why you fit into that role so well is because it comes natural to you, that you know that somebody else was a leader to you, and then you are going to pass that information and all the other information that you've gained along the way down the line to somebody else. That's a true leader. So that's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah, I referenced that I've been doing a lot of reading and going to lectures and workshops all about leadership. And, I realized that, thinking way back to like elementary school, right? And we're playing, games out in the school field, and the teacher like separates kids into, okay, everybody, you half of the group goes there, half the group goes there. Somebody put up their hand to be like the team captain, and I would be like, oh, me, pick me, pick me.
Yep, so you always had it in
I
you.
think so.
That's amazing. So, as a sponsor, of course, because you are a sponsor for the Women Empowerment Awards, talk to us about the importance, the significance of, first of all, you deciding that you wanted to sponsor this event and then being a part of something great as this awards.
So, because I've been in the finance industry, the sort of peer networking groups that I've been exposed to starting young were groups like Women in Capital Markets or 100 Women in Finance, very finance focused. And they've been incredible networks to meet people, to advance my own career by gaining exposure to others that have wisdom to share and doors to open, and then being able to do the same thing. um, Again, with maturity and just exposure, I've been watching other groups come together in industries that are beyond finance,
Mhm.
or things like the Women Empowerment Awards, which I love, which are not industry specific. They're more celebrating the diverse careers and diverse industries and things that women are doing. And so I gravitating to that, and with colleagues at Nicola Wealth, opportunity to align ourselves with amazing community building and celebratory spaces celebrating the woman, outside of our particular industry of finance and wealth is pretty exciting to us. We've launched our own initiative at Nicola Wealth that we call Women's Lead. And lead is leadership, excellence, achievement, and diversity, and very much trying to do something similar in just showcasing stories of women doing fascinating things that I would never have even thought of. And I feel like the Women Empowerment Awards are doing something very similar. And I love that we can all support each other because there cannot be enough of this.
That's right. And it's so important, especially as women, to support each other. Supporting each other is like, it's so important, especially right now where we see everybody doing so many different things. It's important to just, have your hand out to lend that support no matter how it looks. So that's great.
Oh, I love that. Two women that I've recently, last couple of years, had the privilege of getting to know, Martha Piper and Indira Samasekera. They have written a book together that I would absolutely encourage listeners to grab. It's called Nerve. And it is about trailblazing women and about lessons that they can share. They were both trailblazers in their careers. They were the first female presidents of large Canadian universities.
Okay. All right.
And they've got many lessons that they share through storytelling in their book, and I loved the book. I've read it a couple times, but
Mhm.
as you just mentioned, that importance of giving a helping hand or a lift and being supportive. Martha shares a story in the book about her father teaching her that lesson, that life lesson of putting yourself out there to help others. And I can't remember if she came up with this sort of metaphor or whether it was his, but it's always carry jumper cables in your car. And I love that. Just because you can remember that, but
Yeah,
exactly, like, oh my goodness, like my fear is literally is a flat tire on the highway because I
yeah,
cannot, or a flat tire, or the car goes dead. I'm literally looking for that car coming up to pull over and help me out.
right.
So
Me too.
yeah,
I'm waiting.
I like that concept. Wave the white flag, help. So yeah, always carry jumper cables in your car. Be
Yeah.
that person to help someone.
So important. And you know what? People never forget. They never forget that help that they got? It's
Right,
why.
like my scary boss senior lawyer at my articling firm. I helped him by staying on that torturous file, and he came back. He came back.
Forget it.
He didn't forget.
How he was going to help you out, but he knew somehow I'm
Yes,
going to go back to Danielle and
yes.
make. So I love this question because it always gives me a little bit of perspective into an individual, kind of like where, everything kind of comes from. So, what is your why?
My why is to have a personally fulfilling life. And if I can do that for myself and at the same time contribute to others having personally fulfilling lives, of course my core family that are dear to me, but also my friends and my colleagues and maybe strangers that I don't know. That's my why. I'm certainly part of the why. Like, I've got a life to live, one. I want it to be good. I do think about what's important to me, but what I really realize is what's important to me is having impact on others. That's a part of it. So finding a way for those two things to come together.
Fabulous. Yep, I love that. And share a motivational or something inspirational that you kind of go by on a maybe a daily basis, maybe weekly, something that comes to you.
I have a positive mindset. I feel blessed that I was born that way. I recognize that that is sometimes challenging for people. So I respect that some people have a challenge with that every day. What that means for myself is that I don't take it for granted. So when I wake up in the morning and I I wake up naturally to a positive mindset. So every day I think, okay, well, something positive is going to happen today. You need one thing positive every day. And then if I can have, bigger goals for maybe something that I want to achieve that week or that month or this year, really building on that. So giving myself like a very short-term goal, like that day, what do I need to carry on that positivity today, and sort of tying that together.
Hmm. And you could definitely tell that you have a great attitude. That's what makes a great leader as well. Positivity, mentioning that you wake up happy is just, oh my gosh, it is definitely a blessing. So I can see it written all over you for sure. And that's why you're so successful, 100%. This is my last question, but I'd like to ask if you had any advice that you would like to give to any woman out there, whether she is about to jump into the financial industry or she's just going for a goal that she has, what would you say?
Build a community. And it's work like anything else. It's, get your good grades in school and be technically proficient. That takes work. You've done that. You know that. You study, you're doing that. Building a community takes work too, and it's an incredibly important ingredient in a successful career and in life. And be intentional about building diverse communities, men, women, colleagues, neighbors. You need that cheerleading squad, and they need to come from all over the place. I always joke that families need a lawyer, a doctor, a plumber, like, right?
One of everything.
We need one of everything. So you're not out calling Mr. Jiffy for everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, as individuals, we need people in our corner,
Mhm.
and putting the effort into building relationships, which is a reciprocal, what you give someone, you will get back. So building the time to give people some of you, you will get some of them back.
Well, that was awesome. I appreciate you for coming on and sharing all of the wealth of knowledge that you have and just these tips and little bits of information on the journey to success. It was fabulous having you. So
Well,
thank you.
Ali, thank you very much. It was a journey, right? Like our subway ride, this little
It was an
podcast
adventure for
interview. It's a,
sure,
it's a
right?
journey and an adventure.
For sure.
Thank you very much. Thank
Yeah.
you. I
Okay.
look forward to staying connected with you, Ali.
100%. I'll definitely see you at the awards for sure.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Same to you. Take care.
Thank
Well,
you.